Hey, it's me, Bobbert, and this is my retrospective review of Klonoa 2 Unitary Veil for the PlayStation 2. This game is currently the best rated and highest selling game in the series. Is this game truly a underappreciated gem like everybody says? Let's find out, and before we continue on with the video, first I want to wish you all a happy 2020. Sorry this video came out a little bit late. I'm planning to have at least one review out every month while having some playthroughs or let's play or any other short video out, to fill in the gap. And hopefully you enjoyed this video and subscribe. With that out of the way, let's continue on. There's really not much backstory or even beta footage except for this few second video right here. At this point, Hideo Yoshizama and his crew are now called Klonoa Works, which sounds like their version of Sonic Team from Sega. There were plans for the GameCube port, but was cancelled for some reason. Again, take this with a grain of salt. This is all I can find, so I apologize, but if this statement was true, it's probably because of the slow start of the GameCube and they didn't think it would sell enough copies to be successful. Again, not much information. I don't claim to be an expert of finding these details. Most of my information comes from Unseen64 or fan sites, and on rare occasions, other YouTubers. So this is all I can really find. With that being said, it's time to play the game. The story begins with Klonoa floating in the ocean while hearing this mysterious voice calling out for help. Two mysterious pirates were spying on him while the other two people, Lolo and Popka, rescue him. After getting the first element and getting to the chapel where the high priestess is, Klonoa's mission is to get all the elements from each kingdom and return balance to Unitaria, this dream world. As I mentioned before in my Klonoa retrospective, I played the second game first, but I was familiar with the first game's story before I played this game. So when I was watching this for the first time, I was like, where's Hupo and the other characters? Who are these characters? These are new ones. And how does dream travel works? My initial confusion aside, I still was able to enjoy the story and forget all about the questions I have. And I say you don't even need to play the previous games to get fully invested in the franchise, but it does help to understand that Klonoa is a dream traveler and some of these things will happen, so just going on with the ride is pretty much what I'm saying. Let's skip over to gameplay for a moment. It's exactly the same as the first. Being able to grab enemies, throwing them in the background and other enemies, and all the other basic stuff. The only thing different besides the graphics going from sprite to CG is the longer link for your run board. That's of course comparing the first PlayStation 1 game to this game, while the remake is the exact same as this game in terms of gameplay. While Klonoa's ability may be the same, they do add some variety with new enemies that gives you unique abilities, like the one that gives you an electric boost to destroy objects, and the one used for solving puzzles. The first game focused more on platforming than puzzles, which I find that a bit disappointing, but the sequel does have a nice balance between both of them. There's also some skateboarding section that's on rail and plays mostly similar to how you play in 2D but with a 3D perspective, and these are pretty short but also very fun. The levels in this game are all fantastic. The first level, for example, is a great introduction, and I think it ranks up there with the best first levels in video games like Super Mario Bros. And Sonic Adventure 2. It introduced all the major mechanics in one level, like grabbing enemies, and some give you different abilities, drawing enemies in the background to interact with the environment, and the 3D perspective areas like I mentioned earlier. Plus combining the visuals, and music of this level, it makes for one incredible experience. The rest of the levels are great as well. Each world are unique, and it's not just like generic location like water level or the desert level. In fact, each world feels like an actual place you can actually travel into, like the circus place or the town that goes into war. It feels like they're actual locations. Each area offers new ways to play the game without changing the core by giving gimmicks in some stages, like being chased by this huge machine while doing some precise platforming, a maze level while solving some puzzles here and there. Most of them involves precise platforming as usual, and just interacting with your environment by drawing things in the background. Now, granted, the last part was also in the first game, but I feel like Namco expanded on this idea. Well, I said Namco, but more specifically, Klonoa works. Now, back to the story. Klonoa was sent to Unitaria to get the four elements like I mentioned earlier. Along his journey, Klonoa traveled with Yolo, a priestess in training who gives Klonoa ring its power, similar to Hupor in the first game. Yolo is a priestess in training who's been struggling to become a full priestess until she met Klonoa and was finally able to ring the bell. More on that a little bit later. And Popka, the other traveling companion, who's mostly there to give Klonoa information and comedy relief. The main antagonists of the game are the Sky Pirates, Eorina and Tat. Eorina wants Klonoa's ring to get the elements for herself. That way she can control how the world behaves. And Tat is pretty much her sidekick who causes trouble with Klonoa along the way, even teases him at sometimes. At first, the story may seem like your basic platformer story, going around town, learning about each city and their citizens, while finding the element bells. Then the story starts to get a little bit dark and serious. It focuses a little bit around Yolo and Neorina for a bit. In the Kingdom of Indecision, Yolo experienced a flashback when looking into a mirror. She had the fear of failure, and even though she became a full priestess, it was only because of Klonoa's ring. And Neorina was a former priestess who left because of an argument with the high priestess. I won't say it's the deepest story, and I don't want to spoil too much, even though I did spoil quite a bit. But compared to most platformers, it really does connect to a lot of people, and it kind of connects to me in a personal way too. I got a little bit more invested, to be honest, even though the story is not really too exciting. I mean, it's pretty good, but that's just based on other platformers, to be honest. Before we get to the ending, let's talk about boss battles. Like in most platformers, the boss battles are usually the weakest part of the game, at least from my experience, and in Klonoa 2, it's really no difference. The other platformer games I play are usually Mario, Sonic, Super Lucky's Tale, Banjo-Kazooie, I guess to a certain extent, although I argue Banjo-Tooie bosses are a bit stronger, but for the most part, bosses and platformers are pretty easy. And don't get me wrong, the boss battles in this game are pretty fun, but they can be pretty easy fast. They're pretty quick to beat, except for the one that does take a bit of a while, like the one enemy you need to attack from above. But at least they're fun, and they don't overstay their welcome. The final part of the game is the Kingdom of Sorrows, where Klonoa gets closer to the voice that's been calling him throughout this game. The levels are fine and sometimes visually impressive, especially that one area where you skateboard down this area that looks like a painted grass but in a circular shape. But it does overstay its welcome. When I first played this, I didn't really mind it. I was just enjoying the game as is, but when recording this, I noticed it lasted a bit longer than the other levels in this game. As for the final boss itself, it's alright. Again, like I said, the boss battles are usually the weakest part, but the battle against the arena was actually the best one. I really like the different faces it goes to, and this one is not bad. It's not really a disappointing boss battle, but again, you can defeat this pretty quickly. And just like the first game, the story ends kind of sad, but it does have a happier ending. Well, I say that, and then the next sentence I'm going to read is it's pretty depressing. But the King of Sorrows, the final boss, is dead. He's just called King in this game. But sorry if I didn't elaborate on this earlier, but the King of Sorrows, even though he's the final boss, he's not really evil. He's just wanted some help, and this monster thing just possesses him. But after he dies, the arena vows to rebuild his kingdom. The citizens all over Unitaia are uniting together for the first time, and Noto has been demoted to priestess in training again, but remains optimistic that she will someday become a full priestess. Klonoa and Noto hugged, and he leaves the dream world of Unitaia. Klonoa 2 Unitaia Vale is one of my favorite games. Would it be in my top 10? Maybe. I really have to think about that. I put a lot of games that I consider quote unquote top 10 material, but I can see why people would consider this one of the greatest game on the PlayStation 2, and it's definitely a game that everybody should play, especially if you're a fan of platformers. Since I played the sequel first, it did kind of ruin my experience of the first game just a little bit, because the sequel improves on everything from the gameplay, the levels, the visuals, and the story. The only thing the first game did better was the supporting characters. I wish in the sequel they would interact with more people in each kingdom, but other than that, Klonoa 2 is a must play, and this series does need to get more attention. The game currently has a 91 on Metacritic, the highest rated Klonoa game in the series, and sold 330,000 copies, which is the best-selling game in the series. Klonoa is a cult classic among gamers, and unfortunately, it hasn't really caught on worldwide how Namco would want it to be. So when I was looking up the previous Klonoa games, I'm surprised of how many games it is in the series, considering this, Klonoa is a cult classic. There's the two GBA games, Empire of Dreams and Dream Champ Tournament. Both games I have on the Wii U Virtual Console. Unfortunately, I sold my Wii U, so I don't have them anymore. If I still had it, these two games would have been part of the retrospective. Hopefully these games get re-released someday. There's Beach Volleyball game. That's a weird game for Klonoa to have, in my opinion. And that was on the original PlayStation in 2002. And just a reminder, Klonoa 2 was on a PlayStation 2 in 2001. And there's also a game on the Wonder Swan. I'm not familiar with that handheld, I'm assuming, or console. It was called Klonoa Moonlight Museum. Hopefully that get a re-release as well. He also cameoed in other games like the Namco Cross Capcom game, which I believe is an RPG. And now Bandai Namco, they get cold feet sometimes with the series. We keep on hearing rumors of a new Klonoa game with trademarks. Like the one rumor that there was a movie coming out, and now there's reports that it's been canceled. And recently, there's been rumors of a new Klonoa trademark game. Again, those are just rumors, and trademarks don't usually lead to anywhere, but here's hopefully this series gets another chance in the near future. Thank you for watching my video. Sorry this video took a while to put up. Klonoa 2 is a short game, but a fun game as well, and my personal life has been a bit busy lately, but I'm glad I'm able to get this video done. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully looking to post a review once a month, whether it be just a normal review, retrospective, or versus review. As for as for my next retrospective, I have a few ideas in mind, but I'm not entirely sure what game would be next. It probably won't be another series for a little bit, and still try to get back to the flow of uploading videos. But if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. This is me, Bobbert, and I catch you guys later.